It's very hard for New Yorkers to come to things like this on a Saturday morning. Am I correct? Yes, it's very hard. And so for those of you who were able to make it out here, thank you very much for being here. And to Kayode, I really have to congratulate you, your irrepressible nature in sort of driving the conversations. I think that sometimes we don't really get the import of conversations in society, and yet it is through conversations that ideas are generated. And as ideas flourish, we see the choices of people around decisions better informed. And there's no better group of people that can lead really important intellectual conversations like the one we're having today than people in the diaspora of America, from our country, Nigeria, considering that our latest population data is about 227 million of us. And there are many countries around the face of the earth where you can find Nigerians. When you think of the number of Nigerians in Europe, the number of them in other parts of our continent, you then realize how significant this population is. My frame of reference for solving any problem is that when people say we need resources to solve the problem, what do you think they immediately are thinking of? They are thinking of money. And that's the saddest thing you can do to yourself, to assume that the only resource that is important, if only I can get money, then my problem will be solved. That's not true. So I have a different way of looking at resources. There are three resources that you need in order to solve a development problem. Number one, you need partnership. Number two, you need knowledge. And then number three, you need money. So it's number one, partnership. Number two, knowledge, before money comes as a distant number three. So what do you think the diaspora represents? The diaspora represents these three resources I just spoke about. The diaspora is an incredible community of people with all kinds of partnerships, in the sense that for anyone, if I should look at the gentleman right in front of me and I asked him, how many affiliations do you have institutionally and even on individual, personal, person-to-person, P2P, you would be surprised, the gamut. If I did a canvassing of your partnership profile, it would lead me to all kinds of organizations that would take Nigeria many years to be able to reach, but simply because of you, they are unlocked. So partnership is a huge resource that the diaspora of our continent bring to the matter of how we fix our problems. Partnership gives you leverage beyond anything you can do by yourself. Then the second thing that I said is a resource is what? I want to be assured that you guys are awake. Because sometimes you can be speaking to another that is busy sleeping or thinking about cost of living. I know. So knowledge. Think of it. If the percentage we just saw that are attaining higher grades of education, minimum bachelor's, and then you see the profile of the attainment in higher degrees and PhDs and masters, that tells you the humongous reservoir of knowledge. You know, in solving problems of development, there's nothing more important than knowledge. Knowledge. The how to. When you see disparities in solving problems, the immediate thing you should consider is that one party figured out how to solve it, the other party is still struggling to figure out how to solve it. In between those two parties, what do we have? It's knowledge. It's the quotient of knowledge on which the two parties are operating. Now, if we have a diaspora community that is this educated, they are outside of home, what do you think we should do? We should recognize that we have this massive pool of knowledge and it should matter to us. We should organize it in the way that that knowledge is available. And, you know, we normally say that knowledge is fungible. Knowledge is fungible in the sense that, you know, you can move knowledge of how you solve the particular problem into solving another problem. The fungibility of knowledge gives you such incredible possibilities. And for us as a continent, understanding that, as a country, Nigeria, understanding that means that we would be unrestricted in the way that we are adopting knowledge from our diaspora. And then the third thing, finance. On the finance thing, we go to data again. Data shows that averagely over the last decade, at least $21 to $22 billion per annum is taken into Nigeria as diaspora money, even though a lot of it goes to being social protection, as in social safety net for the families you left at home. But imagine that there were a design system that converts that money into part investment and part consumption for the families. That would be massive. Now, $21 to $22 billion per annum, what they represent is almost 9 times foreign direct investment into Nigeria. So you're the real investors, if that is to be so called. And then it represents almost 60%, maybe 50 now, of the total government revenue. I hope you know that Nigeria's total government revenue annually is anything between $30 billion to $40 billion. So this is significant to be receiving that kind of money, you know, from the diaspora. It also is indicative of what is possible. Now, you've got partnerships, you've got knowledge, you've got massive injection of money into the economy of Nigeria, but you don't have voice. Because that's what we've come to discuss. The fact that you've got these 3 things, but you don't have voice. You don't have voice in terms of the constitutional right of a citizen to vote in a democracy. Many countries solved that problem by simply saying the fact that our diaspora have decided that they want to continue to maintain relationship with home is a sufficient basis to consider them people who should have the right to vote. Now, why is it especially important for you to have the right to vote? Your level of educational attainment is important for improving the quality of democracy and the democratic practices. When the diaspora with this level of education and the level of exposure, I know the American democracy is currently struggling, but there are things that the American democracy succeeded in achieving that are still almost unattainable for us. And yet, you know those things. So with your voice, with the power to vote, and the necessity of you voting and demanding accountability, our democracy begins to mature. To disengage you from that process of determining governance in the country is really self-defeating. We cannot self-sabotage ourselves by simply saying, you've left the country, goodbye. Face the country you have embraced. No, there can be two worlds in which you operate. And many countries that have enacted diaspora rights to vote did it on that simple understanding that there is value to voting rights by their diaspora. The effort that has been made, as a matter of fact, Mrs. Abike Dabiri-Erewa, I think I got that last one. Erewa, I knew it wasn't your Erewa. She was very phenomenal on the matter of diaspora voting when she was a member of the House. From that moment, she started. She's been a voice on the matter of diaspora. She really has. And we must acknowledge her. Please, can you clap? Why do you? Yes. When people do the right thing, we must acknowledge them. She did. And she pushed it. She got so much pushback on it. She didn't make the kind of what you call it, progress that could have happened if everybody backed her. And now she's head of the Commission on Diaspora, and she's continuing to push. And she's learned some lessons from what happened in the previous era. And she's doing it differently and being strategic in building coalitions to push on this agenda. And now we have people like Senator Ned Nwoko, who is also pushing on the agenda. Coalitions are important. But let me tell you, the diasporans, listen, you have to sustain your energy on this matter. You are the primary beneficiaries of this right to vote. Many of you think that the money you send home is enough. Take it and just leave me alone. Well, the truth is, the extent of the respect that this society would have for you is dependent on whether Nigeria becomes a well-governed country. And so, for Nigeria to become a well-governed country, we must improve the quality of our democracy. For us to improve the quality of our democracy, we need the kind of knowledge, the kind of partnership, the kind of resources that you bring into the national conversation. I thank you very much for listening.
This is a very important topic, and it's one that is dear to the heart of a lot of us. Now let's look at the diaspora without repeating what we have heard. Now the Nigerian diaspora, whether we like it or not, are factors that we cannot ignore. There are factors that we cannot ignore. Now the Nigerian diaspora is, first of all, an intellectual capital. As Madam Obi said, Nigerians in the diaspora are the most, in America, let's even say America, are the most educated immigrants in America. It's not a debate. There's no debate about it. It's been proven. All the facts are there. Just a few weeks ago, a young chap, just 35 years old, bought over a Red Lobster. The richest immigrant in America, Tokwe, is Nigerian. Do I want to talk about Mr. Ogunlesi? Or do I want to talk about the doctors that are changing the healthcare space in America? A lot of them. Let me say Dr. Lutoye, for instance. Dr. Lutoye is one doctor who, gave birth to a uterus. A mother gave birth twice. That was Dr. Lutoye, and a whole lot of them. So let's go into specific, and some of you in the room, I want to commend you for what you've been doing. So Nigerians in the diaspora, you are intellectual capital. You have a whole lot of knowledge. And I'm glad that, having been working with you for a while, a lot of you are doing great things back home. In the last 3 years, Nigerian doctors in the diaspora have set up at least 10 hospitals in Nigeria. And they're contributing to, changing the issue of medical tourism in Nigeria. They're doing very well in America, but said, look, let's do something back home. Like I said, I can give you 10. A lot of them are also getting into ICT, the food business, agriculture, and all that. So we're really proud of you as an intellectual capital. Now, the Nigerian in the diaspora is also a financial capital. We've heard the figures, remittances. I'll just say in the last 5 years, I can tell you you've remitted over $90 billion to Nigeria. And as we have heard, this is not small money. It's much more than many states put together. And this remittances goes into family things and all that, but also you are investing in your country. And I'm proud of that, and I'm proud that we've been able to work with you to make that happen in the last couple of years. Because we have programs like the Diaspora Investment Summit, we have the Diaspora Day where we come together. We've also introduced the Diaspora Merit Award, where we recognize Nigerians who are doing very well abroad, but also doing things back home. So it's not enough that you're excelling in America or wherever, but also what are you doing back home? A lot of you are doing so much. And honestly speaking, I'm so proud to share the same genes with you. The Nigerian diaspora is also a social capital because you are the #1 ambassadors. Wherever we talk about Nigeria, you are the #1 people we have to reach out to. Wherever, in terms of changing the narratives about our country, it has to be you, the Nigerian diaspora. So you are our #1 ambassadors. So we know the importance of the diaspora, and because the federal government knows the importance of the diaspora, we now have a diaspora commission, for which I'm humbled to have been the very first chairman of this commission. It's been a huge task, but I believe that in the last 5 years we've made a bit of progress talking about the diaspora. And the diaspora issues are now on the front burner. And even countries are coming to us, 8 have come to us to understudy NIDCOM and diaspora engagement. So we won't joke with you, the diaspora. And I know that that is where the issue of diaspora voting comes in. Okay, so you are doing this much. You're contributing to your country's economy. So we can't overstate the need for diaspora voting. And let's look at the challenges that are in front of us and how we can overcome those challenges. Now, let's look at the constitutions. We've had 3. We've had the 1979 Constitution. We've had now we have the 1999 Constitution, which is about being amended. And as Madam Obi said, when I was in Parliament, I actually joined in supporting the bill to amend the Constitution to make the diaspora vote. But guess what? It was totally rejected. And don't forget that even before then, some Nigerians in America went to court and said the court should force the Nigerian government to make it possible to vote. But it did not work because it's all a matter of the Constitution. INEC, severally, we have engaged with INEC numerous times, and INEC will tell you we're ready for diaspora voting. The former President Buhari, in fact, under President Obasanjo, he clamored for diaspora voting. The same thing with President Yar'Adua, the same thing with President Jonathan, and now the same thing with President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. So it's not enough to say we want it to happen. The Parliament just has to amend the Constitution to make it happen. And that is where all of us collectively will have to lobby parliamentarians. We'll have to lobby the National Assembly, because if they don't make it happen, then there's nothing we can do. But here's the thing. The National Assembly is at the verge of amending the Constitution, and we're hoping that this time around the Constitution will be amended. I think the last one was aborted, but this one, they are assuring us that yes, this Constitution will be amended. Now, if the National Assembly goes ahead to amend this Constitution without looking at the issue of diaspora voting, then what happens? Now, here's what we're telling the Parliament. It's not the National Assembly that will conduct the voting. It's going to be INEC. So there's even going to be another layer of amendment which will be done by the electoral body as to how diaspora voting will happen. But the thing is that for this constitutional amendment, for all of you in the room, for all of you listening, for every one of us, let us lobby, let us work together, and for the diaspora, channel your energy to an issue like diaspora voting, not about where we come from. Igbo is fighting Yoruba, we're arguing and abusing each other. Let's leave all that aside and channel energy to this issue of diaspora voting. And I believe that if everybody speaks collectively and demands of the National Assembly to amend the Constitution, it will be done. Now, the good news about this amendment is that the bill is already with the Constitutional Amendment team, and is being sponsored by no less than the Speaker of the House of Representatives, the Right Honorable Tajuddin Abbas. So that gives me a bit of hope and a bit of confidence that, well, if the Speaker himself, who was there, the last House, the one before, also supporting diaspora voting advocacy, so if he is the sponsor of the bill now with 5 others, I believe that maybe there's a ray of hope that is now the Speaker, and we should be able to get diaspora voting possible. But are there challenges? Of course, a whole lot of challenges. Now, you still have people who will tell you, oh, we haven't gotten it right here. And then when I move to diaspora voting, yeah, that is an argument. But my question is, so when are we going to get it right? Are we going to run away from doing the right things? Are we going to run away from doing certain things that we know has to happen because we're telling ourselves that, oh, we're not ready, we haven't done it well enough? That should not be an excuse. In fact, if anything, what needs to be done is, who knows, maybe diaspora voting will even be a catalyst to positivity in our elections. I believe so, and I'll tell you why I believe so. When you look at countries that have done diaspora voting, and a whole lot of them have done it, over 100 and something countries, even in Africa here, why should Nigeria be left behind? Because we are afraid of it. Don't tell me that maybe some tribe or some region are more than the others. I'm telling you openly that that is not even true. That is not true. When you look at data of Nigerians in the diaspora, there are some areas where they don't make any noise. But that is even not an excuse. But the thing is, well, the data were still, Madam Obi mentioned of some figures, but we are way more than those numbers. All over, we're looking at almost 17 million Nigerians in the diaspora. So we are still working on data. We have a data mapping portal now so that we can be more accurate. But a lot of Nigerians do not want to, share their data. But we're beginning to succeed in that regard. So that fear is that okay, maybe it's going to be an advantage to one community or tribe over another. Even if it is their right to vote. But then we have to define who is a diaspora. When we're coming up with the diaspora voting bill, who is a diaspora? Now, legally, a diaspora, a Nigerian diaspora, is somebody who has lived for more than 1 year in that country, pays his tax, has an address, and is a legal resident. I think that is very important. And even by doing that, we'll be able to have data of our genuine legal residents abroad. You cannot cross the boat as an illegal immigrant, go to another country and say you want to vote. That you will not be the definition of a diaspora. So let's get that clear. And I believe working with our missions and all that, it is not an issue. So we have to define who a diaspora is. In Brazil, you cannot vote if you have not visited your country in the last 4 years. So we'll make it, it will have the Nigerian content or what works with us in Nigeria. We're not going to copy hook, line, and sinker. So when the bill comes before the Parliament, the Constitutional Review Committee, I urge everybody to come out and speak out so that we can dot the T's and the I's and ensure that we do not create more problems while we're saying we want to vote. So these things must be spelled out. For instance, you want to come and vote, but you don't even know who you're voting for. You haven't been to the country, you don't know anything. Just like Brazil is doing? Or do we want to do like some other countries? India, for instance, does not have diaspora voting. India does not even encourage dual citizenship. So in India, you can get your 25-year visa, but when it's time to vote, you go home and vote, and they make it comfortable for you. Which country just started recently? They allow just staff that have traveled and are living abroad. So there are many ways, there are many clauses, or there are many other issues that we'll look at to ensure that the diaspora voting does not become more of negative than a positive. But it's not a problem. They are about conversations and decisions which only the National Assembly can take. So by the time the National Assembly starts the constitutional amendment, this is our opportunity to ensure that we all speak with one voice and ask that diaspora voting should be possible. But if you ask me, I'll be very sincere with you. When I talk to a lot of members of the National Assembly, what I hear behind the scene is, Abike, go away with your diaspora voting wahala. So there are still going to be challenges. But like I said, I'm happy that the Speaker is the sponsor of the bill. Also in the Senate, Senator Ned Nwoko has sponsored the bill too. So I think the key thing now is advocacy, and I'm glad that my sister just walked in the room, Madam. Enough is enough. So it's important that we work on advocacy. It's important that we work on lobbying the National Assembly. It's important that we put the facts forward as to why it is now time for the Parliament to vote. And we, the Diaspora Commission, we've written a memo to the Committee on Constitutional Review on the reasons why the diaspora should be able to vote. And there are some points we noted in that bill, let me see if I can find it, where we are justifying why this assembly, under Senator Godswill Akpabio, under Speaker Tajuddin Abbas, has no excuses not to allow the diaspora to vote. Now, the rule of the Parliament just passed the law. It doesn't mean it's going to start tomorrow. INEC will now work out modalities, and INEC will decide when the infrastructure is ready for diaspora voting. But you don't amend the Constitution every year. So in amending this Constitution, just amend the relevant portions of the Constitution to make this possible. That should be the advocacy of every one of us that believe that the diaspora should vote. And just a few points I've made to the Senate Committee, the National Assembly Committee on Constitutional Amendment. Number one, you have a Diaspora Commission now. You have an agency, a one-stop agency for the diaspora. And in the last 5 years, I mean, there's a lot of work for NIDCOM to still do. I mean, we're still scratching the surface. But in the last 5 years, we've been able to build data. We've been able to group the diaspora together. We've been able to use technology to work more with our diaspora. So there's an agency that can deal with the issue of, that is dealing with the issue of diaspora. So that is a strong point. Two, is that we have more Nigerians going abroad. I mean, we all know the Jackpot syndrome. But like I said, it's the legal resident that we will advocate should vote. So there are more Nigerians living, and they're all doing great things. You know, in Canada, you should see what Nigerians are doing. If in Canada, we just worked with them, we have 65 diaspora associations and about 20 student associations that we now have on the data. If you're going to Canada tomorrow for the first time, there's somebody you can call for help. So more Nigerians are living, and we cannot deny them the right to vote as long as they are living regularly and they are legal in the countries they are going to. Then we need to take advantage of potentials of globalization. We need to look at comparative cross-country perspectives and borrowable lessons for Nigeria. We have been doing that. I will put all that before the Committee on Constitutional Amendment. And then we have to ensure that the relevant areas are amended, and it's very simple. For the Parliament to amend the alterations of Section 772, 1172, 1325, and 1785 of the proposals in the bill, and just amend those sections, and that is all. After that, INEC is still going to do a second line of amendment as to how they're going to do it. Who is going to vote, how they're going to do it, when the infrastructure is ready. So let's all work together on this. We need an advocacy on this. We need to just set the agenda for Parliament to make this possible. So when it happens, I'm calling on all of you, come together and let's work on diaspora voting. It's for the benefit of Nigeria. Other countries cannot leave us behind. We have to get it right, and I believe we will get it right. New Central, thank you for talking about this. For all participants in the room, thank you for being part of this, and please, 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 don't let's pay lip service. Some time ago, we had this kind of conversation, and some Nigerians in the room said, look, we're mobilizing 1 million signatures. I didn't see one. It was only left to a few people that were doing the advocacy. So channel your energy into achieving diaspora voting. Work with us, work with advocates of diaspora voting so that together we can achieve this. And I believe it will even to the benefit of this administration if diaspora voting bill is made possible by the National Assembly. I told Senator Akpabio he will make history. I told Speaker Abbas you will make history. And I believe Nigeria will not regret it if the diaspora vote. The diaspora deserves to vote. We can't be paying lip service to you are the best in the world. You're contributing to your country and all that without being able to vote. It's very important and we need to work at it. So once more, New Central, thank you for putting this together. It's a whole lot of job you have done, and we appreciate this, and we hope that the communique from this will be properly circulated so that we can even start the lobbying with what we come up with at this town hall meeting. Thank you very much. And for my brothers and sisters in New York, I miss you all, and I look forward to being with you very, very soon. Thank you, and God bless everybody.
Good morning or good afternoon. I don't know what time it is right now. I want to say thank you to New Central for the opportunity to be here, and also the leading this initiative under the leadership of Mr. Kayode. I thought it's a great initiative and laudable as well. Someone have to lead the conversation. I'm from Boston, so I came in specifically for two events, this one, because how important it is. And a lot of it said, if Dr. Obi said a lot, and I don't even know what else I need to say. But I've been asked to talk about the opportunities or the challenges. A little bit about myself and the organization that I lead for the benefit of those who are here. It's called the Nigerian Professional Group. It's not a social or cultural group. It's a community of students. As you know, we have a lot of Ivy League schools in Boston. We have Harvard, so there's influx of a lot of Nigerian students. We have professionals, early career, mid-careers, and executives, and also entrepreneur. Every Nigerian has a side hustle. And so we're about close to 5,000 members nationwide, headquartered in Boston. A lot of our focus is around career development. We have a career conference coming up November 16. So why am I saying this? A lot of things that Dr. Obi and the Honorable Dr. Abike Dabiri said earlier actually fact. I'm an accountant by training, by 9 to 5, a chartered accountant. I work for a multinational financial institution in Boston. And I heard Dr. Obi saying something about numbers. I'm not going to throw back all those numbers, but those numbers are actually facts. Based on my, engagement with the Nigerian Professional Group, there's a lot of, when we talk about education, we have a lot of Nigerians who are doing amazing, doing great things all over. And when we talk about the numbers, it's been said over and over again that there are about 17 million Nigerians in diasporas, those who are residents outside the country, excluding the numbers that are in and out, also resident in Nigeria but spend quite a number of time abroad. So we have the number. We also have the economic power. You've also heard about how much of, in terms of resources that we remit back home, which is an average about $20 billion, not naira. And that tells you, and it was very interesting when Dr. Obi said, we have all this economic power, we have the number, but we don't have the voice. And that should give us a pause, actually. That should give us some sort of concern. And I'm really excited and really want to applaud the leadership of the Nigerian the Diaspora Commission under Honorable Dabiri about all the efforts. I think one thing that we need to really acknowledge here is the fact that this message is getting to the presidency. There is a conversation in the legislature, so which is really great. And now, Dr. Obi talked about knowledge. We have that, with this, a lot of certificates and, a lot of all that. How do we apply that? Talking about the application, knowing what we've heard today about the effort that's been made, we have a lot of, I'm not a legal expert, but one of the things that we've heard as a challenge, key core challenge around this conversation is the legal implications that has to do with our constitution. And we have a lot of amazing legal experts in diaspora who should be involved in this campaign. And one thing that I would also want to emphasize is that it's about legacy. A lot of us might be comfortable here being in diaspora, but we also have to think about the future of our generations to come back home, and that's why we need to be much involved. So I'm calling right now for all people, legal experts and policy experts to be involved in this conversation. She also did mention something around partnership. I'm currently taking classes in a PhD program and focus on strategic leadership, really around collaboration within the diaspora. For me, it's not just partnership, but really collaboration. We need to move away from operating in silos and just hearing conversations and not being really involved. We also need to, one of the things people talk about is you don't need to be called to be involved. You can always raise your hand and fill that gap. A lot of people wait to be called, and they wait for someone to say, oh, can you do this? But if we find an opportunity, I think and you have the skill sets, you have the capability, I think it's really important for us to get involved. Let's collaborate. There are so many organizations, different organizations, having those databases and being able to really execute and use those databases to reach and get everyone in this campaign is really going to be an amazing if at the end of the day we are able to achieve this. So again, thank you so much. Bringing greetings from Boston. I'm really excited to be here, and thank you.
Thank you so much from Boston. Thank you so much.